Hello everybody, this is Sania Verma. I am an instructor with Edureka for mastering OpenStack. Okay, so let's get started. Before we begin with the introduction to OpenStack, let me start with an introduction about myself. I am Sania, and I have been into mastering of OpenStack with Edureka for a long time now. Professionally, I am into VMware infrastructure build. I have been into private cloud. I have been into Verizon private cloud. I have been into Terramark cloud, mostly compute, mostly the computes and the storage, and now I am into OpenStack for a pretty long time. I don't know if I can remember. So I have like 7+ years of experience into infrastructure build for the private cloud as well as the hybrid cloud. And since OpenStack has taken everyone by surprise, it has also taken me by surprise. I have been into a lot of modules of OpenStack with the developers community to understand different modules and work around with those modules, um, developing the codes and submitting them to the developers for the bugs and all those things. So yeah, I mean, it's a long route that we followed for the OpenStack that you will come to know after an hour or so as we move ahead with this particular webinar. So I hope that every one of you has a single mindset about learning OpenStack. Most of you must have been wondering whether AWS or OpenStack. So we will discuss about all those things in detail in this session. And whatever queries that you guys have, you guys can ping me, and I will see if I can, clarify your doubts uh, and your questions related to OpenStack, and what career that you want to opt for, whether you want to take up OpenStack, whether you not want to take up OpenStack, that you would come to know slowly and slowly as we move ahead with this webinar. Okay, so let's get started. So what do we have in this session? Basically, we will see about the cloud introduction, which most of you might have already been familiar with. We will see what is OpenStack, and we will check what are the components of OpenStack that are like that makes the foundation of OpenStack. We will see whether we get a demo out of it, and we will see the future of OpenStack. That's like the most important thing right now in everybody's mind. Okay, so let's get started. So, like, it says like it's been announced that our company is moving to cloud. No wonder you already know that, there are a lot many companies who are moving towards the private cloud, hybrid cloud, or the public cloud. Microsoft Office 365 that has gone towards the public cloud. There are a lot many examples which are out there for the cloud. So let me ask you guys a question. Do you use cloud on a daily basis? Do you use cloud computing on a daily basis? And do you understand cloud computing at the first place? Can anyone tell me? So yeah, I get pretty good responses. I see that people are saying as file sharing and Gmail, of course. So on a daily basis, yes, of course, SAS is also one of the example. On a daily basis, we have, Dropbox. Dropbox is just one example, one fair example of you using the cloud, right? The another fair example is Gmail, of course, the answer that you guys have told me. So what is actually happening over there? Do you have any idea, like in the back end, what is actually happening? So if I would say it's just like sharing. You know what you are doing? You're just sharing the network. You're sharing the resources which are provided to you over the internet. when we say the things that are being shared over the internet, that is cloud computing. Yeah, that is cloud computing. So it's not a wonder to think like if most of the companies are moving towards cloud. That's where your foundation begins. Why? You will see it in the next slides that why companies are so focused on using the cloud. Okay. So as we move ahead, so of course cloud computing does not mean that you are flying in the clouds and you're afraid of the heights. That's definitely not true. In the technical terms, we have a better definition for it. It says that if you need milk, why would you buy a cow? True enough. Yeah. Can anyone explain me what does that mean? Okay, so I get pretty good answers. That's fantastic. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why would you want to spend some extra money on different kind of resources that are not to be used by you entirely at the first place? That is perfectly right. That makes sense as well. Yeah. So why, when you just need an application to be hosted, why do you have to buy an entire infrastructure? Why would you go ahead and buy a server? Why would you go ahead and buy a different storage? Why would you pay for the networking and the switches when you just want to host an application server? Right? So that's a huge amount of money that is involved when we are talking about the production environment. Okay, so in that scenario, what companies want, they want someone to give them with the infrastructure or the platform over which they can host their applications, their services, almost everything, whatever that they need. Do they need the platform? Do they need the infrastructure? So, it's all about the terminologies today when we are talking about the cloud computing. By terminologies, I mean to say that it could be software as a service, it could be platform as a service, it could be compute as a service. In fact, it could be operating system as a service. It could be storage as a service. So that is like star as a service. Okay. So in today's market, there is lot of involvement for as a service. So whatever that you can sell is as a service. Okay. So it says that all the users or consumers need is to get the benefits of using the software or the hardware of the computer, like sending emails, etc. So just get the benefit of computing. Why should a consumer buy the software or the hardware? True enough, that's where the importance of cloud computing comes into picture. It becomes more interesting with this slide. I think most of you would be more interested in this slide, so you'll get a better picture of what exactly we are talking about. So when we say that we want a pizza, okay, so suddenly you guys have a craving that you want to eat pizza. What would you do? Would you want to go ahead and make it all by yourself? So you would need a lot many things actually. You would need lot of toppings, lot of different kinds of sausages. You would need the oven, the electric, the gas, and honestly, I don't even know how to make a pizza, but you would need a lot of things, to make a pizza. So do you want to do it all by yourself? Because I honestly feel like if you go ahead and make that pizza at home, you'll by the end of the time, I don't know what it will come out to be, and by that time your craving will be gone and you'll be like, oh my god, if I'm supposed to do everything on my own just to eat a pizza, it's rather better to go out and have the pizza. Yeah. So that is the traditional on premises. You have to manage almost everything. That is the traditional way of doing things. It is the same as what we do, or what we rather used to do in our prior days, when entire infrastructure was your headache, when cloud computing was not introduced. Okay. When we moved ahead, it came as infrastructure as a service. where you would need, you would need like, the duff, the tomato sauce, the toppings, the cheese. That is something that you won't manage. You won't have to worry about. You just have to worry about, reserving a dining table. You need a soda, you need an oven, you need a fire, and your pizza will be made for you. All you have to do is just bake it. All you need is just baking it. Okay, so everything else is provided to you, right? So that's infrastructure as a service. When we talk about platform as a service, that means that you don't even want to deal with it. All you want is a reservation, and you want some soda. You want your pizza there on your plate. You want the pizza. Okay, so my focus is on the pizza. So you've ordered a pizza, you want that pizza to be delivered on the dining table with almost everything, whatever that you need. That is your platform as a service. When it comes to software as a service, so you've got almost everything. Okay, so you've got almost everything. It's not you don't have to manage anything. Okay, so it's just like dining out. It's just like dining out. When we talk about platform as a service, we are saying that pizza is getting delivered to your home. Okay, so you have to take care of dining table, and all you have to take care about is soda. So let's say that you've not ordered the soda, so you manage the soda and you manage your sitting area. That's your pizza getting delivered. That is called as platform as a service. When we talk about software as a service, you're just going out and you're just having fun with the pizza that you ordered. So that's same as what we are trying to do with the production environment, with the infrastructure. So when we are talking about the traditional infrastructure, as I've told you, everything has to be managed by us for simple things. When we say infrastructure as a service, we say that networking, switches, routers, storage, servers, virtualization is not going to be your headache. Yeah, that has to be managed by some vendors, but you don't want to deal with that. That is your infrastructure as a service. So in infrastructure, your networking, storage, servers, and virtualization comes into picture. You have to take care of the operating system, middleware, or the framework on the top of that infrastructure, as well as the applications which are running on the top of it. That is going to be your headache. Okay, then when we move on towards the platform as a service, all you care about is the applications. You don't want to deal with the framework, you don't want to deal with the middleware, you don't want to deal with the operating system and the infrastructure lying behind it. You don't want to deal with that. So that comes as a platform as service. So all the rest of the things will be taken care by the vendor. Yeah, all you have to worry about is the application. Typical example is the Gmail. Typical example is your Dropbox. Um, Anywhere that you share your files and the folders. You never know where these files are getting stored, or where on what, location and on what server your data is being stored. You don't know that. So that is your platform as a service. That is a very typical example of platform as a service. When it comes to software as a service, it's just that someone has given you the softwares and you have to use it. Let's say for a typical example, if you want to view certain files, so all you have to do is just upload that file and see. So whatever softwares that are available to you, you just have to use that. That is software as a service. Say for example, you want to view your presentation online. Yeah, SlideShare is also a typical example of software as a service. So the software is given to you. All you want to do is just use it. Okay, and whatever applications which are given, that's what you see. So that is a typical example of software as a service. Yeah. So these are the basic differences when we want to understand cloud computing as well as the types of cloud computing. These are also the service providers. Okay, so it becomes like infrastructure as a service. What are the service providers for infrastructure as a service? Like for example, AWS and OpenStack. Platform as a service. So what are the examples or the service providers for the platform as a service? Yeah. Then software as a service. So what are the providers for the software as a service? So these are just, as the slide says, ownership lies with the service providers. So what are the service providers which are out there in the market? This is where your comparison lies. So when we talk about the software as a service, it's just like your emails and your any other softwares that you're using online. That is just that you're consuming their resources. That is just like you are not dealing with the kind of the software that you're using, where that software is lying upon. That is not your problem. That is typical software as a service. So you've just requested somebody that I want to use Citrix. I want to use your Citrix environment. I don't want to deal with anything else. So yes, boss, that's what we will give to you. That will become your typical example of software as a service. Rest of the things, the management of the infrastructure is not going to be your problem. Then this is platform as a service. So platform is like web, like decision support, like any application development where you want to develop your own application on certain infrastructure which is given to you. That is your platform as a service. When it comes to infrastructure as a service, you have to deal with the framework, you have to deal with the middleware, you have to deal with the operating system, but you don't have to deal with the networking, virtualization, storage, anything that is physical. Anything that is physical, that is not going to be your problem. That is going to be your infrastructure. Okay, so that is infrastructure as a service. Okay, so does anyone have any question on these differences? This is this is this is what is going on in the market out there. These are the basic comparison for as a service. uh, as I've already told you, there are many as a service components and the service providers which are available out there. These are the basic ones. Okay, so let's come and talk about OpenStack. Let's talk about where the OpenStack originates from. So how OpenStack started. So OpenStack has a very interesting story to deal with. Initially, OpenStack was not uh, given in the public. It was not used by the public. It was a private project by NASA and Rackspace. They used to take care of their own internal network with OpenStack. It was never known outside. It was never known outside. In 2010, they realized that they want this OpenStack to be used outside, so they just launched it, uh, you know, for the others to actually exploit OpenStack. So it's very new actually in the market. OpenStack is really growing, and it's growing very fast. There are many contributors which are involved with OpenStack today. Uh, that there's not just one, but there are many. You will understand why these contributors are so keen to contribute themselves to OpenStack. Okay, as we move ahead with the slides. Someone had a question. I think I Okay, so does PaaS provide the database and the application server? So see, does your database and application server require any particular platform to be running upon? Then it would go it in that manner. When you don't require any platform to run your application server and database, then that's fine. But when I say that you require a framework to understand or to run your application server, then it might come under platform as a service. Right? So when we are talking about platform, we are talking about the framework. That framework should be supportive of whatever that you want to run, what applications that you want to run. Yeah. So in that scenario, you might require a platform. So what is the difference between AWS and OpenStack? I knew this question would pop up. I knew that. But, why don't I deal with your question at the end of this session once? Let's understand about OpenStack, and then we would be standing at a position where we could actually differentiate between the two. How about that? Are you okay with that? So, okay. What happened next? What happened next? OpenStack was launched with the help of the organizations with cloud computing services. So they realized that, you know, OpenStack has got something that they want to actually exploit. It has something of much more importance that they can actually work around with. Okay, so eventually, you know, many organizations started to add up with OpenStack and they started exploiting what actually OpenStack is. Okay, so in couple of slides you would understand what I am talking about. The most important thing that we need to know about OpenStack is that it is a non-profit and corporate funded entity. Okay, so the one thing about OpenStack is do not expect a 24/7 support out of OpenStack. That is not what OpenStack is. OpenStack is open source framework which is given to you to exploit cloud computing. So voila, I have just given you a definition of OpenStack. So that is what OpenStack is. It's a framework to help you achieve cloud computing. That is what is OpenStack in very simple terms. And it is an open source. So do not expect that you've created an environment of OpenStack and you have the entire production environment of your cloud computing with OpenStack, and if something were to go wrong, you can just drop a mail to somebody from OpenStack and expect a help out of it. That's not going to happen. Okay, there is a developer community which is available for OpenStack individually, so you will have to post your comments, you will have to post your problems, so these developers will reproduce those issues and try to fix the bug if there is any, and otherwise, you know, they'll try to help you out, figure the issues what you have. So you must learn what basically OpenStack talks about. You have to speak to OpenStack. That's where the difference between AWS and OpenStack lies. When you're talking to OpenStack, you're dealing with it. You're dealing with its files. You're dealing with, you know, its modules, and basically you decide how your infrastructure is going to work. You are the deciding factor over here. How? I'm going to tell you in a couple of slides. Okay, so this is a non-profit and corporate funded entity. It depends now, you know, if you're using OpenStack from Red Hat, from Mirantis, from Ubuntu, then you know you will get the support of the operating system, but exclusively on OpenStack, I guess not. Okay, open source and built by the community of developers. So that's what I'm talking about. So this is open source and this is built by the developers who are very, very keen to learn OpenStack, who are very, very keen to actually help OpenStack, provide a lot of, you know, scripts, provide a lot of files, and lot many things, just lot many things. So that is an open source, and this is community of developers out there who are going to help, you know, who are helping OpenStack, and there are a lot many modules that they are adding on to OpenStack. Okay, so there are more than 500 companies, more than 500 companies which have joined this project. So today at this state, I say it's not 500, but it's 4,000 plus contributors with OpenStack. 4,000 plus. So I have not mismatched any zeros over here. It's lot more than what you think. There are a lot many contributors which are joining every day with OpenStack. Okay, this is one of the fastest growing open source communities. Okay, so just because it is so interesting to actually help you with the cloud computing services, it is so interesting, and there are a lot many developers out there who are developing lot many things over OpenStack. It is very safe to say actually that OpenStack is really getting matured day by day. Okay, so it's going to take time to actually achieve very strong production environment out of OpenStack, but yeah, it is not completely impossible. PayPal is one of the user of OpenStack, and they have recently claimed that they have achieved 100% cloud computing with OpenStack. Now, initially, they used to deal with VMware in order to achieve the cloud computing that they wanted, but they completely, they completely moved to OpenStack, and they claim that they have achieved the cloud 100% cloud with the help of OpenStack. Now, they do have to depend on VMware for their networking purpose, because networking in VMware is pretty strong. It's very strong, as a matter of fact. But yes, OpenStack has today come into the picture that it is actually kicked off VMware a little bit, because it is an open source and because it is so easy to actually deal with the files of OpenStack. Okay, you can create your own automation, you can create your own files, you can create your own modules to help support OpenStack, which a lot many companies are doing today. IBM has recently come up with its own cloud using OpenStack modules. They have used certain OpenStack modules, integrated those modules with their own environment, and they have come up with their own cloud, a private cloud. So that's where that's where the importance lies. Like, how can you exploit it? How can you use it? So let me talk about a little bit about AWS and OpenStack, which I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have been thinking about, that what's the difference between them. Okay, so you were asking me that how can you relate this with Hadoop and all. Okay, Hadoop um, um, is kind of a framework or a technology to make use of the structured as well as the unstructured data. And of course, Hadoop can be used on the top of OpenStack with the help of Sahara. So if you integrate the Sahara module with OpenStack, Hadoop is also achievable. So, you have the module or the component in OpenStack, which is known as Sahara, that will help you with the data processing, which is same as Hadoop. Okay. So yeah. So which version of OpenStack components you're explaining in this slide on the screen? This is not a very recent one. This one is, I think, Havana. But the recent version of OpenStack is Mitaka. So in Mitaka, there are a lot many components which has been added. If you guys are aware about the distributed virtual switches that has been added into the Mitaka version just got released in April. I guess 6th of April, I'm not very sure about the date. Before that it was Liberty, and before that it was Havana. So these are the components which has been being added with each and every release of OpenStack. Okay, so we will actually discuss about the versions of OpenStack. That's a catchy question that you have, but we have a slide um, ahead of us for the components of version of OpenStack. We have another question. OpenStack is equivalent of AWS and free of cost. Well, my answer would be yes and no, both. You must understand that AWS has been into the cloud computing for a very, very, very long time. In fact, AWS was the first to introduce cloud computing. So it's very mature in the market. It's very mature, but it is not free of cost. Okay, it is not free of cost. Even if you create your free account, there is some charges that will be imposed upon you. Okay, there are many components which are there in AWS for you to use. Okay, the difference lies in the infrastructure and the way that you handle it. AWS infrastructure is something that you're not aware of. Okay, the kind of the storage that they use is something that the Amazon has got it in their own servers. They have got their own servers, they have got their own networking, they've got their own switches from the backend, which is very huge. They do give you the feasibility of using that infrastructure. Now, whether you want to use S3, whether you want to use the block storage, the EBS, or whether you want to use the EC2, that is completely dependent on you. But you're not entirely controlling that infrastructure. You do create the cloud infrastructure on the top of the AWS, but you're not controlling the infrastructure. When we talk about OpenStack, it's about we who decide where my infrastructure is going to lie. Say, for example, if I talk about storage and I said that I want Swift or I want Cinder, I can decide where my storage is going to be, whether it is going to be Ceph, whether it's going to be cluster, whether it's going to be the local storage. I can decide what it is going to be, what kind of object storage it is going to be, what kind of file storage it is going to be. Okay, so this is completely scripted. Everything is scripted. So you deal with all of that. You deal with all of that. You have a freedom of choosing whatever infrastructure that you want upon. Okay, so that's where the importance of OpenStack lies. Is Swift is equivalent to Amazon S3? That is correct. That is absolutely correct. So choice is basically yours. I would say that AWS is very mature in the market. OpenStack is not yet that mature, but it is an open source. Okay, so choice is yours when you decide what your production environment actually wants. Okay, what your production environment is seeking for. Do they need to deal with all the infrastructure? They want to take care of all the infrastructure themselves? Then definitely go with OpenStack. You can decide what database you require. You can decide what messaging protocol that you want to use. You can decide what kind of orchestration services that you want to use. Okay, you can decide what kind of compute that you want, what kind of alarming services that you want, and the scripts are in your hand to actually deal with it. You can edit the scripts and make use of it in any manner that you want. The most interesting thing in all of these is you can use any user interface and integrate that with OpenStack. All you have to do is, code here, code that, little bit of this, little bit of that, and create a Python script for a dashboard. If you want to create your own dashboard, you can do that. All you need a little bit of a coding language knowledge, but you can use the scripting language as well. That's the beauty of OpenStack basically. So there is a support for JSON files as well, and OpenStack is entirely created in Python, so you can create in Python scripts as well as the bash or the shell scripts for automation. So it's like, you've got the control with OpenStack, which is not true with AWS most of the times. Okay, so it would be unfair for you to decide between AWS and OpenStack unless you actually use OpenStack. Because if you have used AWS, then please use OpenStack and then try to differentiate between the two. Have a look and feel of OpenStack, understand the infrastructure, learn to be with it, and then you would be able to understand the differences between the two. Both of them have the same destination, okay, but the way that destination is being approached is different. Okay, so we have few more questions coming up. If any production environment uses OpenStack and they find issues with OpenStack framework, how they get it resolved, who will support it? Rohit, that's what we have. That's what the situation that we have over here. We don't have a full-fledged support which is available for OpenStack. There is an OpenStack development community which is available where you have any issues, you can put it over there. But let's say that you have the issues while you're using the Red Hat OpenStack. So of course you can raise your queries with the Red Hat OpenStack community. They have their RDO community for you to deal with, and you can definitely get it sorted out. But please do not expect a support 24/7 support in OpenStack. Please be prepared when you are talking about OpenStack production environment. If you are not satisfied with what I'm saying, you have to go and figure it out yourself. Just go and figure it out. Yeah, of course. Now, Ishani, this is an open source. So when it is an open source, do you have a support available for an open source? I guess no. You don't have a fully supported 24/7 support that will be available to you for anything which is open source, because it is given to you to deal with. Basically, it's just that you have been given with an opportunity, you've been given with something which is so amazing that you want to actually use it in your own way. So that's not going to be very you just can't expect a support 24/7 support out of it. What is not free part of OpenStack? Okay, that's a very intriguing question that you've asked me. So let's say that, for example, let's say Red Hat. Let's talk about it. So, of course, the operating system for the Red Hat is something that you have to subscribe for. That's not going to be free. So you have to have a subscription for it, but any module on the top of it, whatever you install is free, boss. So let's say that you want Trove database. All you have to do is just download the files, the folders, and that's it. Okay. So all you have to do is install the libraries for whatever components that are available for OpenStack and that are free. So it's kind of a wrong question to be asked that what is not a free part for OpenStack. Um, there is nothing which is chargeable in OpenStack. Okay, there is nothing which is chargeable in OpenStack. So all you have to do is just have an operating system on the top of it, yum install this, yum install that, this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And you will have all the modules with you, all free for you to use. So isn't that interesting? Do you find that interesting? If you don't believe me, just go figure. So does anyone have any question with respect to AWS and OpenStack? Is there any restrictions? Rohit, for the first part of what you are asking, is there any restriction? Yes, the restriction is that you have to use a Linux operating system. Okay, you have to use a Linux operating system. OpenStack is not supported on a Windows operating system. If you want to exploit it, you want to have a workstation or a VirtualBox or a KVM, but it doesn't work on Windows operating system. Okay, when you talk about applications and versions, then yes, there has to be an updated version of OpenStack as well as the operating system on the top of it. Say for example, if you are using Red Hat 6 version and on the top of it you're installing the newer versions of OpenStack, it's rather better that you use recent versions of the operating system as well, because that's where the support and the synchronization would work between the two. So yes, that is another restriction that you have. It's always better to use the updated. If you're using an updated version of OpenStack, always have a recent operating system to support that newer version of OpenStack. Okay. So let's say for example, recently we came across an issue where someone was using fifth version of Red Hat, and the newer versions of OpenStack started giving some kind of issues. So it's always better to have the recent versions. Okay. So Akshay, for any practical experiences, since this is a demo class, I am forbidden to actually give you any practical on OpenStack at this point of time. I cannot do that. So sorry. Ubuntu 64-bit is supported. Yes, of course it is supported. Ubuntu is supported, and with Ubuntu there are a lot many components and tools which are available for you to use and exploit. Ubuntu is supporting its own OpenStack, which is known as canonical OpenStack. Okay. So yeah. So before we start with the components of OpenStack, does it support MySQL, JBoss? Yes, for JBoss and MySQL, you have to download certain repositories and they will be supportive, of course. But do keep a track of the recent versions. I would request you to keep a track of recent versions and check that what recent versions have. Because one important thing that I forgot to tell you is OpenStack releases the new versions every 6 months. With every version, they are coming with new support for a lot of tools and lot of infrastructure support. Okay, so be always alert on whatever the new components that are coming up. Always see the summit videos of OpenStack. There are OpenStack summit videos where the developers come up with the newest versions and they tell you what they're supporting, what they're looking forward to in the next versions of OpenStack. So always keep a track of it. That is one request that we always have for people who want to actually use OpenStack in the production environment, because when you have one version of OpenStack running in your prod environment and suddenly you started getting a hang of it, you know, that naturally takes time. And the moment you start getting a hang of it, there is a newer version that has come up in the market. So are you ready for that newer version? You have to ask yourself that. Are you ready for the, you know, updating the repositories which you have already created? So be always alert on those factors. Be Because OpenStack is developing a lot and fastly. Okay, you have to keep up with the pace of it. So you have to keep yourself updated with the recent versions. So let's say in April I've got Mitaka. In October, I will get a newer version with a lot more support in lot more modules being added into it. So I have to be alert on whatever new things that they're coming up with. Yeah, so that is my challenge, and I have to be updated about it. Okay. Any backup layer available with OpenStack? Yes, of course, Rohit. There is net backup, there is semantic backup, there is Veritas backup. These are supported with OpenStack with the third-party plugins. So Veritas, Semantic, and NetApp have provided the plugins, the third parties, to be associated with OpenStack. So once you download those third-party plugins, you can have the backups working with OpenStack, and the backend could be your NetApp or your Veritas servers. Okay. So let's talk about OpenStack and the main components of OpenStack which are available. So there are many modules for you to choose. The choice is on you what modules that you want to deal with. There are many companies out there who just want to exploit the Swift component of OpenStack, okay, or maybe the heat orchestration module of OpenStack. Okay, they don't require all the modules, so the dependency is very reduced in OpenStack. These modules are independent of each other, but they are still dependent on each other in a manner that you have to make the communication between these modules possible with the help of Keystone services. Okay, so you need to understand basically the communication between each and every module. Okay, so let's say, for example, for an infrastructure as a service, you would require the compute. When we talk about compute, we are talking about the resources, we are talking about the RAM, we are talking about the CPU cycles, and we are talking about the disk, may it be ephemeral or non-ephemeral storage. Okay, so that is compute. When there is another compute which is known as Ironic. Ironic is a component which is used to manage the hypervisors which are available in your OpenStack environment. Then there is Neutron, which is a networking component. So as you try to install each and every component, these components have dependency on each other to make sure that you get an infrastructure. So there is a network among each other. There is a communication among each other via a remote procedure call to make sure that each and every component is communicating with each other in a rightful manner, and each and every component is properly authenticated as well as authorized. Okay, so there is an importance of understanding how the infrastructure of OpenStack is being built and how this is being communicated with each other. Okay, there is an orchestration as a service in OpenStack which is known as Heat. You can relate this with Puppet and Chef or Ansible, Jenkins, such kind of orchestrations which are available out there. Then there is database, which is known as Strove, MariaDB, MySQL. There is a support for all of these databases. Okay, so I have few more questions coming up, but let's just deal with these questions once we talk about the components for once. Then I'll get back to your questions. Okay. So then next we have data processing as Sahara. As someone asked me that what if they want to exploit Hadoop on the top of OpenStack. So as I've already told you that OpenStack is a kind of a framework for you to use any application that you want to use. Okay, so do not be afraid of using OpenStack for any of the application that you want to use, but do exercise prudence to learn that whether that application is supportive with the current version that you're using. If you're using the earlier versions like Kilo or Juno version, you want to know whether your module or the application is being supported or not. Okay, so be always careful on those parameters. Okay, then one is key management, which is known as Barbican. There is a DNS manage, which is known as Designate. There is a message queuer, which is known as Zakar. By default in OpenStack, RabbitMQ is also used as a message queuing protocol. The common library which is being used in OpenStack is Oslo. And the identity management service is known as Keystone. And the image management component in OpenStack is known as Glance. So that's where your templates for launching a virtual machine lies. Okay, when we talk about the front end of how you are going to access OpenStack, that happens via the command line or any REST API or any, let's say for example, the Horizon dashboard. So in OpenStack, the dashboard is known as the Horizon, which is stateless user interface. Okay, and otherwise we have the command line to access the OpenStack and the modules of OpenStack. So let's see the main components of OpenStack. So the first one where you would end up being is the Horizon dashboard. That is where you want to access all your components. Okay, the Keystone Identity Service is responsible for authorization and authentication of a user. Say for the first time, if you have logged in, whether you are authorized to access the components or not. So that is the responsibility of Keystone. Cinder is your volume storage service. Okay, so Cinder is just like your typical traditional storage where you would store your data. Neutron is your networking component, which will help you facilitate the networking on the top of your environment. Okay, so all the virtual machines which are running on the top of your OpenStack environment will be connected with the help of a Neutron networking component. Then next is your Swift, which is known as Object Store, which someone of you said that it is same as AWS S3. That is exactly the same. So in the similar manner, you create a container and you upload your files in that container. That is your Swift storage. In OpenStack, you can decide where your images are going to be uploaded, what kind of backend storage do you want your files to be stored upon. Okay, so that is something that you can control. Next is your Glance image service. As I've already told you, that this is one of the component where you store your images to launch a virtual machine out of it. Okay, then next is your Nova. Nova is one of the important component of OpenStack where the resources to launch or spawn a virtual machine comes from. So Nova is going to be the component that is going to decide how you are going to launch your instances. So when I talk about instances, I mean virtual machine. Okay, so I mean virtual machine. Okay, so before coming to the future of OpenStack, I have lot many questions coming up. So let's go to them one by one. Can we upgrade only a particular layer, example Neutron only instead of whole OpenStack version? So Rohit, my answer is both yes as well as no. So if you let's say if you want to upgrade entire OpenStack module, you can do that, or if you want to upgrade only a particular component, that is also possible. So let's say, for example, Nova is one module that I have in my environment, and if it was an older version and if I want to install the newer versions, I can do that. I have the flexibility of doing that. In that sense, you would want to make sure that you take the backup of the module that you've installed, because the modules have the configuration files, which has the information of connectivity of this mod of one module with the database as well as the Keystone services. So the chances are, if your files get overwritten, you might wonder that what has gone wrong. Okay, so take the backup of the module and you install the newer modules. That is always possible with OpenStack. Okay, so you don't have to stick with the older versions of any particular module. You can definitely do that. Okay. Can we get the slide deck? Vikramjeet, I think this is something that you might want to call up Edureka and ask them whether this will be available to you or not. However, the recording of this session will definitely be available to you within a day or so. So, you can go back and check. But yeah, the recording will be available to you. Okay. So your next question is, but since OpenStack is open source and no one organizing or maintaining the cloud, will an organization essentially be creating a private cloud? It's not really a public cloud. Vikramjeet, let me try to understand your question. So you are saying that if there is no organization which is available to maintain your cloud, um, why there is a need to create a private cloud? Is that what you mean? Well, basically, when we just talk, see, you must understand the biggest scenario of OpenStack. It's not just one OpenStack that you would be dealing with when you want to have a production environment. There will be many tools that you would be using along with the OpenStack. It's not just going to be OpenStack. Yes, when it comes to OpenStack, you might face certain troubles to actually deal with it, but let's say, for example, you are using the third-party plugins. Let's say, for example, the Net app. Someone has asked me about the backup, so I let me use the example of the Net backup. If you have any problem in integrating the plugin of the Net backup and integrating it with OpenStack, you can raise a query with Net app team to help you sort out this problem. This is one scenario that I can tell you with. Yes, but in your private infrastructure, if you end up having certain issues, most of the times you have to be dependent on some OpenStack development community to maybe help you out. Otherwise, you will have to find out and sort this out yourself. But most of the times you should be able to deal with it because you are the one who actually created the infrastructure yourself. So you understand the in and out of OpenStack. Yeah. So you have the flexibility. So don't feel like you will not get the support. The developer community are there 24/7. Basically, there are developers on OpenStack community. They're available 24/7 for you to help out with your problems. But you must understand what OpenStack is. It is an open source. Okay, so there are certain challenges with that comes along with OpenStack. Okay, so okay, so you need to understand what basically OpenStack tells you. Okay, what does it mean to have OpenStack in your environment? Okay, I hope I have clarified what your question is. Any organization using OpenStack will be maintaining their own cloud. Of course, yes, it is a private cloud. Yes, You are right. You got it. You got it perfectly right. So if I have not told you already, let me rephrase it. OpenStack is infrastructure as a service, and it is private cloud. So I'm sorry if I missed this particular term to be used before, but OpenStack is infrastructure as a service, and of course, yes, it is used as a private cloud. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we have another question. Can we access local CD-ROM or any local devices in the VMs inside OpenStack? Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. You can do that. So let's talk about OpenStack future. Okay, so lot of people are asking about the future. Um, See, we are IT people, and we know about the future of the market. We know market very well. But when we talk about OpenStack, um, you know that there are many companies out there which are not running away from it, but they are running towards cloud computing so fast that they need OpenStack at this point of time, unless there is something else that comes into picture which is similar to OpenStack, which is similar to providing an open source cloud computing framework, and of course cheaper. Yeah, so companies are still running towards it. So you can say that there is a very good market which is coming up with OpenStack, and it is building up. The companies are they are attracted towards OpenStack because it is free. Their dependency becomes greater when they want to be dependent on the infrastructures. Let's say for Microsoft, if you're talking about Microsoft cloud computing, or if we are talking about the VMware, there is there is a lot of dependency involved, and there is a lot of cost which is involved, and there are many companies who actually don't want to depend on the components which are being developed. So that's why they want to move towards OpenStack. And if more companies are moving towards OpenStack, that means more job for you, and more knowledge do you have on OpenStack, more chances of you getting a very big terms on your money. Many zeros might be getting added in your salary. So yeah, as you can see this graph over here, you can see the adaptability of OpenStack is pretty high as compared to the rest of the services which are available. Let's say Docker, KVM, CloudStack, and Ceph. So OpenStack has got a very good score. Reason being, it's just 5 years old and it's quite mature today. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty fantastic actually, I would say. So we have a question. Since we are talking about the future, the analyst organizations such as Gartner and Forrester don't think they evaluate OpenStack, and hence does OpenStack show up in their quadrants? Well, Vikramjeet, that's a question. That's a question with a lot of doubts at this point of time. I don't know basically what they want to use, what they want to do with their infrastructure, whether they would use it, whether they won't use it. It completely depends on their requirement. There are many companies who are still a little afraid of using OpenStack, but it's no way saying that the rest of them are not going to be using OpenStack. So the moment when OpenStack starts having a better or a sound foundation, let's say, that will be the time when rest of the services which are providing the private clouds will not stand a chance against OpenStack. Okay, so that might happen in near future. Can we get a trial version access? I do not understand your question. Are you asking me that can you access OpenStack or not? Is that what your question is? Okay, so as I've said, OpenStack is open source. So yes, definitely you can, and there is no trial version. You can use it as long as you want. Okay. Is Docker a competitor of OpenStack? Of course, yes, it is a competitor of OpenStack. So the slide for the pay scale says a lot at this point of time. Why I asked in beginning, you said there is cost too. See, nothing is going to be entirely free for you. I did not say that OpenStack is completely free of cost. I did say that the tools which are associated with OpenStack will charge you. You cannot have an entire infrastructure all based upon OpenStack. Okay, you have to be dependent on a lot of other tools as well, right? So if you consider that, I have OpenStack, voila, and I don't need anything else, that's not going to happen. Okay, that's going to be that's not going to happen actually. You would need lot many tools to support with lot many things. Okay, so you would definitely end up paying for those things. So nothing is so free for you. But yeah, when we talk about OpenStack and its repositories, of course, they will be available to you. Any links or anything, for this point of time is out of the course. I mean, out of the intent that we have in this webinar. Um, so please Google it. You'll have a lot of information. Any OpenStack certifications, you have C210 certification, I think, which is available for OpenStack. Once you have that, you can go with the advanced certifications for OpenStack. Okay. So yeah. Um, um, so why is OpenStack the next big thing? Standardization, since there is a lot of organizations who are using it, OpenStack is bound to use the standardization. Now this is infrastructure as a service. It is not only the open source, but it also follows the standards. So when we say open source, do I mean, I don't mean that someone has given you a code online and you are just trying to use it and just trying to change certain code and make it your own. It's not like that. OpenStack is abided by the standards which are being used because the organizations are using it for their commercial purposes. Okay, so it always follow the standards. The ecosystem is rich. Why I am saying it is, you can always have the support of whatever support. By support, I do not mean the dialing a number on the phone. No, I mean that if you require any other storage, so let's say for example, I want to be dependent upon CloudWatch, I will have the plugins available for it. Okay, if I want to depend on cluster storage, I will have the plugins available for it. Okay, so the ecosystem is very rich. It's not limited. Okay, it's not limited. If today you feel that OpenStack is still needs to mature a little bit, wait till the next version comes up. Maybe they will have more support for the rest of the components which you might need. Okay, so that's why it is very rich at this point of time. Open source, of course, it follows the bazaar model and serves as an example of open source development which is done particularly right. Yes, of course. So it is very stable in that manner. It's just very open source. It just speaks very open source. So you would understand it by this point of time. And who's behind OpenStack? So that's pretty interesting. Who's behind OpenStack? So you yourself can see lot many um, companies which are over here: AT&T, HP, Dell, IBM, Red Hat, Mirantis, Rackspace, SUSE. These are just a few to mention. These are just a few to mention. There are a lot many contributors involved with OpenStack. Okay, there are a lot many companies which are involved with OpenStack. So let's talk about, if you join the course, what is our roadmap towards understanding and learning the modules of OpenStack. Okay, so the first one is going to be an understanding about the entire infrastructure of OpenStack. That's where we will discuss how each and every module is communicating, within OpenStack. Okay, the second is going to be the Keystone, which is your identity service, which will make you authenticated towards the infrastructure. The next is going to be Nova, Cinder, Glance, Neutron, Horizon Dashboard, Heat, Orchestration Services, Silometer, Trove, Swift, which is an object store, then installation and troubleshooting. We will have OpenStack Operators Guide, which will give you some important commands to deal with OpenStack. We have central logging. Okay, so this is going to be the roadmap that we will follow in learning OpenStack. Okay, you have the batch details available for you to go up to. Okay, so we have the next batch, which is starting on 4th of June. We take the classes on Saturdays and Sundays, so it's basically 6 weekends. Do you use CLI for configurations or GUI? We are very much dependent on command line, basically. So we will be using a lot of command lines. Okay, so yeah, we do have a lot of dependency over there, actually. Okay. So the course has like online live classes, which is going to be for 42 hours. You will have the extra assignments for another 25 hours. You will have to work a lot on these assignments yourself in order to get a better understanding on OpenStack. You will have the projects that you will work upon. Okay. Um, so um, we have the offer, which is valid till 3rd of June, because we are starting the batches on 4th of June. We will have the morning as well as we'll mostly have the morning batches, which is starting on 4th of June. So I hope I see you guys there in the sessions. Now, do you have any questions for me now? We've learned OpenStack, we've talked about OpenStack. I have taken you towards the roadmap of OpenStack and the future of OpenStack. What questions do you have for me? Red Hat OpenStack coupons, I don't think so, but do ask the Edureka support guys and ask them this question, please. Any discount for student? So we had this discount, right? I mean, we have it over here. We have like 15% off until you use it. Okay, so you can avail this discount. Okay, so any more questions, any more queries? So I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are confused. A lot of you actually want to use OpenStack. You wouldn't know unless you try, you try and see it, and then you can decide. Um, so if we are done with the questions, I think I'm gonna wrap up. And I am very sure that you guys have got a very good understanding about OpenStack. I hope at this point of time you understand the differences between AWS and OpenStack, and the better understanding is going to be obtained when you deal with each and every modules and in and out of OpenStack, and see how the communications lie, and how you make the OpenStack work, how you launch the instances, how you make those instances communicate behind the load balancer, and how you exploit the storage which is available with you. So better understanding comes when you have a better hands-on on the technology. Rohit, for the question that you've asked me, honestly, I am not sure. but whoever there will be pretty good, and yeah, they'll be pretty good. I'm very positive. Okay, so does anyone have any question? I'm going to take the last question if anyone has, and then we are going to wrap it up. And you guys can have this demo session recording available to you guys within a day or so. For any extra questions that you have related to any discounts, which we've already talked about, uh, the timings and the certifications, and all those things, you guys can call Edureka support and those guys will help you out. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for like a couple of minutes for the last question to be entertained, and then I'm gonna wrap up. Okay, so I think for wow, so I did not know that I would be able to clarify each and every one of your questions in just one session. I thought that there will be more questions, but I believe that everyone is clear on the concept at least. That makes me happy. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you for joining. While you close the session, I believe that you might get a feedback form or something to let us know your feedback. And please get in touch with the Dureka support for the rest of the questions. It was great to have you guys in this session. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was knowledgeable and you learned something out of it. So this is goodbye from me, Sanya. I hope to see you guys in any one of my session if I am taking it. So thank you so much for joining and have a good day. Bye-bye, everyone.